This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with some sad news. We just came off Ace Frehley from Kiss, just passed away. Who was not only known for his time with Kiss, but had some great songs himself, such as Rock Soldiers. I was just listening to that in the gym. Then I get home and I see that 58-year-old Sir Mo, former WWE Tag Team Champion, has passed away after a 2-month blood infection battle as well as pneumonia. But he has been having health issues for quite a while now. I did personally know him. I met him in person in 2021 in Dallas, Texas. He's from that area where I interacted with him several times. I had been talking to him for several years prior to that because I was trying to get an interview with him for several years before I eventually met him. I did 2 interviews with him. They're both in the description. One in-person interview before one of his Soar Wrestling independent shows in the Dallas area, and another one online. He did have his own wrestling company called Soar Wrestling, a small indie company. Real, I don't. I'll always tell you guys straight who the nice ones are. He was really nice. Did not have a bad bone in his body. Yes, Nick, it did look like he's suffering. Yeah, a lot of people died this year. Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne, and by the way, Buff Bagwell, who said Marty was going to be the best. Here's another one gone before Marty. Sabu. So many have passed this year. And by the way, I did interview Marty Jannetty a couple days ago. Sir Mo, best known for his time in Men on a Mission. I believe their manager Oscar is still alive. Mabel, aka Viscera, passed away a long time ago. Obviously, he had a lot of health issues. Um, but just a really nice guy, no ego at all, friendly, helpful, just always good for advice. But let's talk about his career a bit, and feel free to share your memories. But I guess he started in 1991 and was teaming with Nelson Frazier, aka Mabel, almost right away. One of his first tag team matches was a WWE Superstars tag match, teaming with Jim Brunzell, losing to the Beverly Brothers. And then he had another single WWE match, losing to the Mountie, my trainer, Jacques Rougeau, who he later tagged with in WWE. He was in USWA, where he feuded with Jerry Lawler and Double J Jeff Jarrett, as well as George South, before going to WWE. That was back around the time where Memphis had the connection to WWE. Of course, I mean, this was a low time in WWE, but they were one of the top teams. They had some interaction with the Bushwhackers and the Doinks. They even played the Doinks at one point. Of course, Mabel won the 1995 King of the Ring. That's where Sir Mo took the Sir Mo, and he ended up keeping the Sir Mo. Mabel had a lot of backstage heat with The Undertaker around that time, which Mo talks about in our interviews. 96, in the very last Montreal wrestling event at the Montreal Forum before it was demolished. That was where he made his last tag team appearance, apparently. So that's interesting. One of the top, or no, his last WWE match was a loss to Marty Jannetty at that Montreal Forum House show. That's very interesting. Speaking of Marty Jannetty, who I was just talking about, he then went back to the USWA and never got another shot in WWE, but remained active on the Indies. They were cool. I mean, I didn't. They definitely had one of the first rap gimmicks. I mean, it was a really bad time in WWE, but I remember that They wrestled the Quebecers a lot. Yeah, his health was failing, and 58 is not that old. He could very well have had diabetes. Yes, MOM was over. In other wrestling news, yeah, Marty Jannetty, Marco. I mean, you can never predict. Mo, yes, he had weight issues, yes, but he lived a clean life. To my knowledge, he was never a drug or alcohol abuser. Really, he was really a good guy, and I can't say that about many people I met in wrestling, but just a nice guy and was very helpful for me. And hey, here's a piece of trivia. He even booked the guy that played the role of the referee in the infamous Texas referee accident match. That guy didn't actually referee on that show. He was just paid to bleed, and that was a guy booked through Sir Mo, who, by the way, understood it was an accident, never held a grudge against me for the accident because we've all had accidents. That was the whole thing with the heat of the Undertaker and Mabel. And I don't want to take away from this horrible loss, but I'll mention some other news when you guys can continue to share your memories. This match where, I mean, this is just so stupid. There was a fish bowl brought to the ring at an AEW pay per view in St. Louis last night, where Tony Khan was making a big deal. Lou Thesz's wife was there, his widow was there. Lou Thez, one of the best technical wrestlers of all time, and they do a match where he tries to drown Darby Allin in a fish bowl because fish bowls just lie around the ring. Former AEW official Sarah Stock has spoken out about that publicly. By the way, Tony Khan compared Moxley to Harley Race, one of the toughest wrestlers ever. Here is the result of Moxley's grappling match. He lost to this guy. Um, so John Moxley, I would not compare to Harley Race at all. John Moxley was Harley Race was legit tough. Harley Race was a man's man. I'm sure Harley Race could have done hardcore, but he was a wrestler's wrestler. And I trained with Harley Race for a total of 2 weeks. And I'm not saying John Moxley isn't talented. Moxley and I would actually have a very good match together. And who knows? Chances are unlikely, but John Moxley against the Blood Hunter might happen one day. But he is no Harley Race. There's no comparison there. He's talented, but in a different way. And Harley Race, again, one of the toughest ever. Moxley's old partner in the WWE, Seth Rollins, is getting shoulder surgery. Could be out for quite a while. I was talking about The Undertaker. I had put this poster up that somebody sent me from 1993, Robert Gurtin Arena, Hull, Quebec. For people that don't know, Ottawa, Canada, Canada's capital, where WWE didn't go at all this year. For the first time since 1995, they did not put a show on this year. But during the 1993 year, they went across the river to the 4,000 seat Robert Gurtin Arena for this show. And I found it interesting because keep in mind, they're paid in Canadian. I don't know what the exchange rate was back then, but right now, $1.40 Canadian is $1 American. So I was at this show. Tickets were $11 for the stands, $14 for ringside. In those days, you didn't have guaranteed contracts. You were working for, I think it's 33% of the gate, split between where you are on the card. So main event would get a higher percentage than opening match. But I remember the show. There maybe was 1,300 people. It was really poorly attended. And I'm just thinking to myself, at 11 and 14 bucks Canadian, these guys would have made pennies for that show. So when you hear people like Steiner and Sid saying there wasn't a lot of money going around, at various points in WWE. Waylon Mercy also said this. They were probably losing money on shows like this. And by the way, you want to talk about a terrible booked card? There was 5 matches, and the only clean finish was Bob Backlund defeating Papa Shango. The head shrinker were there. It was just there was matches on there that did not happen. There was only 5 matches, but double countouts, disqualifications. And the other interesting thing is Undertaker wrestled Yokozuna 4 times in this market. They came back in '94 for the Heart Attack Tour, had that match as a casket match. And Undertaker also wrestled Yokozuna in the Civic Center. And then they even came back in 1996 and had another match in Hull. So they had 3 matches. So it's just interesting looking back and thinking there was some really bad cards in those days, but it was nothing near as bad as it is now. By the way, if anyone remembers the date, the first match I ever attended as a wrestling fan was in June of 1989 at the Ottawa Civic Center. Brutus Beefcake against Macho Man was the main event. The last match was the Rockers against the Rougeos. If anyone remembers the exact date that happened, please let me know, because I want to do a review of that show. But there's absolutely no record of it. But I know it happened. It was a pivotal moment in my life. R.I.P. Sir Mo. New Day Services went to a WWE show at the Gardens October 31st, 93, $25 each. Hannibal, managed by Don Callis, would be awesome. No one is excited to see the Cena retirement tour. The highlight of it was his turn that ended up being a flop. There's nothing left to look, unless they bring The Rock back for the last match. I can't see it ending any more flat than it is right now. And what are they going to do once? Hey, keep in mind, guys, they did 2 shows in Toronto. They did the Elimination Chamber the night before in Toronto, and then they did 2 shows in Quebec this year. That's it for Canada. They gave the FU to Canada this year. 4 shows total. There was times when they would go to Ottawa 4 times in a year and Toronto 9 times a year. They went to Canada 4 times this year. They didn't even go to Calgary. They didn't go to the East Coast. They gave us the FU. And AEW only came twice. Not that AEW is a replacement for anything. Mad Dog Vachon would have sold out in Hull, Quebec. That, as small as that arena was, it was a famous arena and I've wrestled there for TNA and for Jacques Rougeau. It's a famous arena for wrestling. Like Bruiser Brody wrestled there, Abdullah the Butcher wrestled there, the Road Warriors wrestled there. So it was a cool arena. Here's speaking of The Rock wrestled there too in 1996. Just after he debuted, he was in a match against the Sultan. I mean, I could tell you. I mean, we'll do more historical podcasts because I miss the old days of wrestling, and I wish I was born and could have wrestled in that era. Yes, I watched American Gladiators, and if you haven't seen my movie that's out on YouTube right now, pilot episode for my series Blood Hunter Thirst and Rage, Malibu from American Gladiators is in it. He plays Petrov, who is, I mean, I don't want to spoil things, but let's just say Malibu caused my character a bit of an issue. After Jack Tunney left WWE, shows weren't as often as usual. No. And you want to know the interesting thing? There's no further shows announced for Canada right now. There's nothing. Could you imagine a world which is our world now? Canada used to be a big part of WWE. There's no upcoming Canadian shows. And there hasn't been a show there since the summer, the Quebec shows. Can you guys imagine Toronto, one of the biggest cities in the world for wrestling, one of the hotbeds? There hasn't been a show there since March 1st. Crazy. No New Day services. The only Toronto event I attended was WrestleMania 6. What do I think about The Rock losing 60 pounds? I don't know if he lost 60 pounds. I mean, he definitely got himself even bigger for the Mark Kerr role, which, by the way, has now made 18,000 at the box office worldwide after this weekend. He got bigger than he's ever been, but I don't know if he's lost 60 pounds. He still looks amazing now. He looks huge. Clearly, it's not good for your heart to walk around at the size he was walking around at for the Mark Kerr role. And I can't see any way that he could have done that without taking massive amounts of some type of supplements. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it. Who's the Canadian booker? I'm sure Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have a lot of pulls. Sami Zayn is Triple H's boy, sadly. Which, by the way, they made Braun Breaker lose to Nakamura in Japan, for crying out loud recently. They should be protecting Breaker. Why did they even bring Nakamura back other than they're going to Japan? They would have got a good crowd in Japan anyways, but it's just bizarre to me. The wrestling world that we live in now is not a wrestling world of the wrestling that I fell in love with. I still like wrestling. I just don't like any of the current products. I am going to go to the Juggalo Championship Wrestling show in Wichita on October 28th, though. I will be covering that for this channel. Marco misses Andre the Giant. Well, Andre used to wrestle at the Robert Gertain Arena all the time. Back in the Montreal days when he was Jean Ferret. Well, Sir Mo, God bless you, man. I have nothing but good memories for you, from you. And please leave your memories of Sir Mo in the comments. Good guy. Another one lost. And definitely one of the good ones. God bless.